Okay. Today I would like to explain something really important. Um, One of the problems of understanding events, happenings along the line of history is the fact that we separate the details and we look at them as they are, trying to find a reason, a solution for that event, for that detail, while that detail is a part of a long chain of happenings, and that it is actually impossible to separate that. But this is one of the trends that is taking place throughout all history and along many endeavors in the process of understanding life, finding solutions, making books, films, all of that. But I would like to put all details together and then follow the chain and find out to where it leads me, and that is very important to me. So let's start. Let's imagine that if my right hand would find an apple, would it deny it from my left hand? Let's imagine that I ate this apple. Would my liver deny the outcome of that apple from the heart or the kidney or the stomach or whatever? No, it does not. So what does this mean? It means that the entire process of this life, the entire process of my body is based and functions upon a certain fact, which is to share. Now let's imagine a family and father, mother, children, all of that, and let's imagine they are working in a field to be able to survive. And let's imagine that one of the family started to take the product of such life in the field to himself. Let's imagine that he gathering the vegetables and the fruits to himself and storing them someplace, somewhere to himself alone. Would we think that this family would function? It would not function. The actual understanding of the family is the share. Now let's imagine a tribe. Let's imagine a tribe around 12,000 years ago, 13,000 years ago, just a couple of thousand years before grain started to take place around the world, and were just before people, nomads, would start to settle. Now, in that period, nomads, for example, or a tribe, a small tribe, no matter how many they are, the very essential thing that could make them continue to survive, especially among these harsh situations that took place at that time, is to share. To share means that I am no longer an individual. I am a part of a construction, a social construction. I'm a part of an integrated individuals. I am no longer I. The I dissolves completely in the we, in the us. Now, one of the most amazing findings that one time somebody found was a dead woman, and they found that the femur, which is the bone in the leg, it was healed. It was broken at one time and it was healed. Now, the important thing about this is that that person, that old woman, was not left to die someplace, somewhere, like any other animal. She was taken care of, and the family around her took care of that, and they simply helped her to survive, to go on. That share is a huge diversion, and it's a huge fact that we, at the end, as humans, cannot survive at all if we do not share and become together. Now, let me tell you again one more time, this is a kind of a multidimensional video or clip or understanding or information or knowledge, where I bring different stories somehow, someplace, somewhere, and you have to put them into a one combined place in your head, and then in this you will be able to understand what I am trying to tell you, because the linear way of understanding things will never ever bring you to the awareness of understanding the entire vision of what I'm trying to say. So now, from there, let's go, for example, to find out a Saudi Arabian sitting someplace somewhere in the desert taking care of his camels, and suddenly black tar will take place, and he found them. And then one of those abusive Americans, and almost all Americans are abusive, would come, and he will offer that Saudi Arabian, who knows nothing about anything except his camels, a huge sum of material things in order to take that, for him to be able to acquire power. Now, that Saudi Arabian had suddenly accumulated a lot of power through this money. Now, let's imagine a Palestinian under the oppression of those Nazis who call themselves Jews, or they call themselves Israelis, and who are the true virus of the world. Israel is a virus, it is not a country. You have to understand that. And he is trying his best to learn and to have his PhD, and to find a way to survive. He has no electricity, he has no water, and every now and then he has to constantly fight against to be able to accomplish his message, to learn and to understand and to have a degree in the university. Now, how could this happen? How could this happen that one person, simply because he is on a land he has not chosen, would accumulate so much power, while someone else who is in a land of which he has not chosen as well is unable to get anything? And this is the true and the most remarkable, devastating fact in the world that is the cause of the misery and the war. Now, what would happen when somebody is driving a BMW 700 series with his fat belly pushing against the driving wheel, with a cigar in his head, in his mouth, and a bus crowded with people, and someone who have almost no place to live is sitting in the window looking at him? What would really happen? What would happen is that person would do anything to reach the status of that person in the BMW. That difference of power, that difference of energy, that chasm that is having, is the reason why we have violence and killing and rape and stealing and theft and breaking laws and making laws as well. Unless we demur and reject the idea that each country has its own path, destiny, choices, and that this country is connected, like everything else, to all the other countries, unless we do that, unless we embrace socialism, and unless we reject capitalism, the world will never, ever, ever find any kind of peace, any kind of solutions, and any kind of happiness. Once someone in Kuwait or Iran or whatever would find a coin, that coin had to be split to all these 300 or 270, I don't know, countries around the world and shared. And once a coin is lost in Madagascar or in Bangladesh, and people started to suffer for the loss of that coin, the rest of the world have to be able to give the same coin. Without this, nothing will take place. And this is why, for example, a country like England, who was nothing in the 16th century, who could you walk in the street in mud with not one single light to light your path. This is why a country like that invaded half of the world. This is why it was called the empire where the sun never sets. Why? Because of greed. They found out how they would be able to conquer and to take resources simply because they have none. And now, once Europe had the power and had accumulated and had reached most of the sources around the world through treachery and through stealing and killing and power and through war and through enslaving, once they did that, now they deny, for example, Africans to be able to go and take a bit of what Europe had created and made out of their own sweat and upon their own shoulders. This injustice that takes place in the world will never be able to be solved unless a new law will take place where all the nations have to be combined together into one organization and screw this thing called United Nations. This is just an image that does nothing of value. And this organization have to, in one way or another, and this is one of the problems because the consciousness of the world is not yet there. And the consciousness of the individuals is still individualistic, egoistic. It will not go out to that part where one can say, yeah, let us share. This kind of sharing, unfortunately, is not there. And this is why we find so many huge projects completely serving the rich people. Did you know, for example, that 600 people in the USA, which is the axis of evil, own what 4.4 billion, not million, billion people own? Can you imagine the amount of power that they can do to those other people? This is not right. This idea of dissecting your body, dissecting your hand, dissecting your organs, separating them, does not work. And every single thing that people would do, trying to make organizations and trying to make I don't know what, and trying to make workshops and books and to find solutions for injustice, it will not work until this little tiny bit of earth that is insignificant in this universe will combine together and will unite into one single country, one single unit, one single entity, one single consciousness, and an organization built whether by force at the beginning, whether by convictions, whether by convincing, whether by whatever, will take place so that whatever resources comes out from one country, it have to be divided equally into all the other countries. Only then we will be able to take off war. Only then we will be able to stop bombarding other people to take their resources. Look at the book of history. It is full of these examples only because one country found itself that the other country have more. The Mongols found that the Chinese have a lot of power and a lot of money, so they conquered. So they made an army, so they crossed the wall. And you can see that again and again in every single place. The Spaniards, when they came to the Mayans and the Aztec, how they massacred 5 million people of them simply because to take off their gold. And the book of history is truly filled with that. This clip is only to tell you and make you understand that no matter what you do, that nothing, ever nothing of an individualistic enterprise will be able to solve the problem of injustice. And the only thing that can do that, the only thing, is a new system, a new way of life, a new project, a new life where the world is combined together, and whatever catastrophe takes place someplace somewhere have to be healed from another way. No one is allowed to make something and to create something like the USA, which is again the axis of evil, to damage the world. Everybody have to be under the microscope. Everybody have to show and display their actions and their choices and their behavior and their system openly. Maybe one day the world will come to such an event. Maybe one day we will come to such a consciousness. But regardless whether we came or not, that is the only way that we could persevere. That is the only way we could survive, by being one single unit. Thank you.